Clark Gable, the king of Hollywood, is one of the most prominent film legends of the 20th century, had a tumultuous life. With complicated relationships, emotional tragedies, and a tragic ending that few people know about. So what happened in Gable's life? And was his end the price he had to pay for his success and fame? Discover Clark Gable's life full of ups and downs in this video, childhood and family. Clark Gable, one of the most famous actors in Hollywood history, was born on February 1st, 1901, in Cadiz, Ohio, into a poor family. His father, William H. Gable, was a farmhand but unfortunately died when Clark was only 10 months old. Gable's mother, Adeline, was the only one who cared for and raised him. After the death of his father, life became even more difficult for the Gable family as Adeline had to work hard to raise her children. However, she always inspired Gable with resilience and hard work. The lack of a father figure had a profound impact on Gable's life. He grew up in an environment that lacked the affection of a father and felt the lack of guidance from a male in the family. However, this became the driving force that pushed him to become strong, independent, and never give up in the face of difficulties. This lack of family affection may have influenced the way Gable viewed the world and decided to never let himself be defeated. Gable not only learned to face all difficulties, but also developed a high level of independence from a young age. Despite the absence of a father, Adeline taught him important lessons about self-reliance, overcoming adversity, and never giving up in life. Gable attended Cadiz High School, but due to his family's difficult circumstances, he did not have the opportunity to continue his studies at university. Gable soon realized that an academic career was not the only path to success, and he began to look for other opportunities. During his early years, he worked many different jobs to make a living, such as a salesman, a model, and even a construction worker. During this time, Gable did not give up his passion for the arts and his dream of being on stage. Gable's acting career began with small roles in local theaters in Ohio, where he was able to hone his acting skills. Despite not having the opportunity to study acting, Gable never let this handicap hinder his artistic path. He decided to venture into Hollywood, where he could see greater opportunities. However, the road to Hollywood was not easy. Gable faced numerous difficulties, from making a living to proving his talent in the competitive film industry. He began taking supporting roles in films and gradually caught the attention of directors and producers. During his first years in Hollywood, Gable did not have much success, but he never gave up on his dream. Step by step, Gable proved his talent and won greater opportunities. Eventually, Gable's tireless efforts paid off as he became one of Hollywood's top stars during the 1930s and 1940s. And how did Clark Gable rise from small roles to becoming the king of Hollywood with the legendary role of Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind? Are you curious about how Gable won the hearts of audiences and became an icon of American cinema? Read on to find out more. Hollywood career and legendary roles. Clark Gable began his acting career in the early 1920s when he began performing in small plays at local theaters. Gable's early roles were not very impressive and were mostly supporting roles without much screen time. But right from his first steps in the film industry, Gable demonstrated his perseverance and passion for the profession. He understood that only his efforts and ability to overcome difficulties would help him stand out in the competitive world of Hollywood. Initially, Gable struggled with many challenges in finding opportunities, but he never gave up on his dream of becoming a star. One of Gable's biggest difficulties was the lack of opportunities and some roles that were not good enough for him to shine. However, Gable's persistence and determination paid off when he signed a contract with MGM in 1931. This was a major turning point in his career, opening up opportunities for Gable to start participating in major films and gradually rise in the film industry. MGM, one of the biggest film studios in Hollywood at that time, recognized Gable's special potential and quickly signed him. This not only helped Gable receive many important roles, but also provided a platform for him to build his name in the film industry. Gable stood out not only for his rugged, charming appearance, but also for his excellent acting ability, making him one of the most beloved actors during the 1930s. Despite facing the pressures and challenges of the film industry, Gable always maintained his passion and constantly strived to assert himself. Over the next few years, Gable starred in a series of successful films, each of which helped him establish himself as a household name. Films such as Red Dust, 1932, Mutiny on the Bounty, 1935, and San Francisco, 1936, established Gable as a leading Hollywood star. In leading roles, Gable not only demonstrated his charisma, but also demonstrated his ability to portray characters with depth and complexity. From a fighting soldier to a villain, Gable skillfully portrayed a strong yet emotional man, captivating audiences. However, it was not until 1939, when he played Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind, that Gable truly reached the pinnacle of his career, becoming the King of Hollywood. With his legendary role as Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind, Gable created an everlasting icon in the film industry. The film, adapted from the novel of the same name by Margaret Mitchell, is not only one of the greatest films of all time, but also an undeniable hit in Hollywood history. Rhett Butler, the character that Gable portrayed, is not only a man of intense charisma, but also a multi-dimensional character with many layers of emotions and a tumultuous story. Gable portrayed Rhett Butler as a tough, free, steadfast man, but also very emotional and vulnerable. This role made the character of Rhett Butler one of the most prominent characters in the history of cinema, having a profound influence on later generations of audiences. Gable demonstrated his talent in creating characters with complex emotions, expressing strong inner conflicts, and combining a strong appearance with a sensitive heart. It was this complexity that made the character Rhett Butler a symbol of indomitability and romance, leaving a deep impression on the audience. The film Gone with the Wind was not only an important milestone in Gable's career, but also a historical milestone in the film industry. Although he did not win an Oscar for this role, that award went to Robert Donat for his role in Goodbye, Mr. Chips. The role of Rhett Butler helped Gable solidify his position as Hollywood's biggest star and made him a legend. This role not only helped Gable achieve global fame, but also laid the foundation for a sustainable career for the next decades. Gable's portrayal of the character's emotions and psychology has made audiences not only love him, but also admire his acting talent. With his ability to capture every nuance of the character's emotions, Gable has created an indelible icon in the hearts of movie lovers. And even though Gone with the Wind was released decades ago, Gable's character Rhett Butler is still one of the most iconic images in cinema. Can you imagine the pain Clark Gable endured when he lost the greatest love of his life? Let's explore his tragic story of love and loss, personal life, and relationship. The love story between Clark Gable and Carole Lombard is not only one of the most famous Hollywood romances, but also a testament to the sincere and deep love between two great stars. Their relationship began with a chance meeting in 1936 at a party hosted by a mutual friend. However, it was not until 1939 that they officially married, when both had achieved significant success in their careers. Carole Lombard, with her natural beauty and sense of humor, became one of the most beloved stars in Hollywood, while Clark Gable, after his legendary role as Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind, rose to become the king of Hollywood and one of the greatest actors in the film industry. Gable and Lombard's love was not only beautiful, but also imbued with deep respect and understanding between two famous people. Although their busy schedules with major film projects created many challenges for their relationship, they always maintained a strong bond. Gable and Lombard were not only colleagues but also true life partners, always standing by each other and supporting each other in both their careers and personal lives. However, in 1942, tragedy struck, and Gable's life was turned upside down. Carole Lombard, his beloved wife, died in a plane crash while returning from a fundraising campaign for the U.S. military during World War II. She was on a flight back from a mission when her plane crashed. Lombard's sudden death left a deep wound in Gable's soul, making it difficult for him to accept this loss. Gable fell into a state of severe mental breakdown. Grief-stricken and hopeless, he could no longer find joy in anything. The pain of losing his beloved wife not only affected his spirit, but also had a great impact on his physical health. For a long time after Lombard's death, Gable lived in loneliness and could not escape the ghosts of the past. Colleagues and friends in Hollywood expressed concern about his health and mental state, seeing him increasingly withered and no longer interested in work or anything else but endless sadness. Some of Gable's close friends, including colleagues like Gary Cooper, tried to help him overcome this pain, but all seemed to be in vain. Gable, who was known for being strong and resilient throughout his career, now felt an unfillable void in his heart. The love and encouragement that Lombard brought to his life could never be replaced. The light in Gable's life has gone out, leaving a space that no one can fill. He lives in solitude, facing his past and the beautiful memories of his wife who left too soon. After the tragic death of Carole Lombard, Clark Gable's love life never seemed to be at peace. Although he tried to move on and find happiness in his later marriages, none of them lasted and could not ease the pain of losing his beloved wife. Personal tragedy and later marriages. Gable married a second time in 1949 to actress Sylvia Ashley. Sylvia was a beautiful and famous woman in Hollywood, but their relationship did not bring Gable the comfort he needed. This was the marriage that Gable hoped could fill the void in his heart after the death of Carole Lombard. However, although Sylvia was a charming woman, the connection between them was not as deep and happy as he expected. The incompatibility in personality and difficulties in personal life gradually caused the marriage to fall apart. They only lasted 3 years as a couple before they officially divorced in 1952. This marriage was not only a failure in love, but also a testament to the pain Gable had to endure after Lombard's death. Sylvia Ashley could not replace Carole in Gable's heart, and this was what prevented their relationship from developing. Gable could not overcome the image of his dead wife, making his efforts in marriage meaningless and lifeless. After his divorce from Sylvia, Gable did not give up hope of finding true love. He continued to enter other marriages, but all failed. Gable's marriage to actress Kay Williams, his third wife, is a typical example. Although they married in 1955 and had a son together, this relationship could not bring Gable complete happiness. Kay Williams, although the woman of Gable's last years, could not fill the void he felt after Carole Lombard's death. The lack of empathy and deep love caused their marriage to gradually fall apart. Love in Gable's life seemed to be a journey full of tragedy and failure. Each of his marriages brought sadness and lack, unable to replace the image of his first wife, Carole Lombard. Gable not only lost the love of his life, but also had to live with an inconsolable loneliness. His later marriages only made him feel more empty and pessimistic. For the rest of his life, Gable never found a lasting relationship. The women in his life, no matter how beautiful or famous, could not replace Carole Lombard, the wife he loved and lost too soon. Gable eventually lived in solitude, dealing with the unresolved pain of his failed love life. The failures in love only added to his pessimism, making Gable's final years dull and bleak. Gable, once a Hollywood icon, was left with only sadness, loneliness, and memories of the wife he loved forever. After years of conquering the pinnacle of fame, a brilliant career, and a turbulent personal life, he faced serious health problems, which led to his life ending in tragedy. Health tragedy and tragic ending. Although Clark Gable was always known for his strong and resilient on-screen persona, his personal life was not easy and could even be said to be miserable, especially after the death of his beloved wife, Carole Lombard, in 1942. Lombard's death shattered part of Gable's world, leaving him with an incurable grief that he could not overcome for the rest of his life. After this loss, Gable not only had to deal with loneliness, but also suffered serious health effects. Although Gable was known for his toughness and courage, the deep sadness from this great loss made him weak and depressed. Over the following years, his health gradually declined, largely due to his lingering mental problems. The stress of his unhappy marriage, his constant anxiety about his career, and his constant loneliness took a toll on Gable's body. Though he refused to admit it, he was suffering from heart problems and frequent chest pains. These symptoms were largely due to the emotional repression and grief he felt after Lombard's death. By the late 1950s, Gable's health was showing signs of concern. Although he had always been a very strong man and never showed signs of fatigue, the pain and tightness in his chest became a problem that could not be ignored. Gable continued to work hard, hoping that his work would help him overcome his sadness, but his body was paying the price. In 1960, his health problems became more pronounced, and in May of that year, Gable was rushed to the hospital with a heart attack. Despite the efforts of his doctors, his condition did not improve. His heart attacks became more frequent, and his health became increasingly fragile. By mid-November 1960, Gable's health had deteriorated to the point where he could no longer continue his beloved work. His heart and body had been under too much strain for many years, and Gable was no longer able to continue his film projects. Although he had worked tirelessly, he was facing the ravages of time. On November 16, 1960, Clark Gable died of a heart attack at the age of 59, at the height of his career. Gable died while filming his final film, The Misfits, alongside one of his most famous co-stars of the era, Marilyn Monroe. His death was a shock not only to his family and friends, but also to millions of fans around the world who had great love and respect for a film legend. Gable's death not only shocked the Hollywood community, but also deeply saddened the hearts of those who loved him. Although he overcame countless challenges in his career and personal life, in the end, his health problems and the deep wounds he suffered could not be endured. Gable's death, just months after he completed his final film with Marilyn Monroe, left Hollywood in silence. People remembered him not only for his famous roles, but also for the tragic life of a great man who could not escape the difficulties that life brought. Clark Gable's death was a tragedy not only for Hollywood but also for those who loved him. It reflects the harshness of life when a film legend like Gable, with all the fame and success, could not overcome the ravages of time and the difficulties in his personal life. Gable's career reached its peak, but the tragic end came too soon, leaving a huge void in the history of cinema that no one could fill. Gable's death is not only the end of a legend, but also a reminder of the fragility of life, that no matter how successful and famous we are, we all have to face the inevitable challenges that life brings. Legacy and lasting influence. Clark Gable, despite his struggles, left a lasting legacy in the film industry. His career was filled with legendary films, making him remembered not only as a movie star, but also as a Hollywood icon. Gable became the epitome of the tough, charismatic, yet emotional man, an image that reflected the complexity of real-life human beings. His performances, especially Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind, created unforgettable cinematic moments that have left a lasting impression on audiences for generations. Even after his death, Gable's influence has not faded. Later generations of actors often refer to Gable as a great inspiration. The combination of flamboyant style, indomitable spirit, and the ability to portray characters with emotional depth created a distinctive style of acting that not everyone could achieve. Gable helped change the face of Hollywood, from an influential star to a legend that has endured over time. It is worth noting that although his career was associated with big films and famous roles, Gable was always a very approachable, unpretentious man in real life. He was not only a cinematic icon, but also a person who had a strong influence on popular culture, especially for audiences who love romantic, action, and tragic films. In addition to Gone with the Wind, other works such as It Happened One Night, 1934, Mutiny on the Bounty, 1935, and The Misfits, 1961, affirmed the versatility of Gable's acting, as he was able to take on comedic, romantic, tragic, and action roles. These films created a profound influence on world cinema, making Gable one of the greatest icons of Hollywood, someone whose influence even today's young actors cannot help but acknowledge. Gable's life is not only a story of success and glory, but also a lesson in resilience and how to face the harsh challenges in life. Although his career reached its peak, Gable's personal life was not without its ups and downs. From his greatest loss with the death of Carole Lombard to his disappointing marriages, Gable faced pain that none of his fans could see. However, what made him strong was his ability to overcome personal tragedies and continue to dedicate himself to his art. Gable lived in an era where movie stars not only had to deal with the pressure of work, but also with huge expectations from the public. Although the world of Hollywood always seemed glamorous, it was also full of unforeseen challenges. Gable, through his ups and downs, showed us that the truth of life is never simple. Loss, loneliness, and emotional pain are things that even the biggest stars cannot avoid. However, what is admirable is that Gable did not let those things defeat him. He was not only a movie star, but also a symbol of resilience, and the ability to continue living and contributing no matter how hard life threw him. Gable's legacy lies not only in his legendary film roles, but also in his lessons on the strength of spirit in the face of loss and failure in life. He proved that no matter how difficult life may be, continuing to live, continue to love, and contribute will always be something to be cherished. Gable's legacy, not only in the films he left behind, but also in the way he lived and overcame challenges, will forever be an inspiration to future generations of actors and fans. What do you think about Gable's career in life? How do you feel the loss of Carol Lombard affected his career? Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. We would love to hear from you. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more interesting updates. Thank you, and see you in the next videos.